Oh yeah.
All right, let's just get right to it. This is the brand new Ibis Exie. It's their 100mm rear travel cross-country race bike. And spoiler alert, it is the best climbing bike I have ever ridden in my entire life. I'm gonna skip over all of the geometry. That's easy enough to just go look up on the internet. We're gonna keep this video quick and to the point. Jeez, this fly is gonna kill me. There is one thing I do wanna touch on though, and that is the long reach and wheelbase on this bike. It is very long, especially for a cross-country bike. Honestly, the wheelbase is closer to all mountain bikes than it is other cross-country bikes, especially in size extra large. In size large, it's still bigger than most every other cross-country bike, but in extra large, it's like huge, way, way bigger. And that's one thing I really enjoyed. I'm a tall guy. I usually find cross-country bikes a little too small, even in extra large. So this is a proper sized extra large. So let's jump right into those ride impressions right now.
Okay, Ibis Exie. I'm up here on an Intermountain Cup XC course. I figured that'd be a pretty good place to test a bike called the Exie. We're gonna go for all the PRs today. I normally ride this on trail bike, so hopefully this is a heck of a lot faster. I almost put on an old Lycra road kit just for the sake of cross-country racing. But a couple years of fatherhood has made that pretty impossible for me. So a couple things about this bike. It's got 100mm of rear travel, 120mm up front with that Fox 34 fork. It's got a 67.2 degree head tube angle, and in the XL, it's got a 75.9 degree seat tube angle. The chainstay, 435mm long, and here's the number that's out there. It's got a 519mm reach, which is the most XL bike I've ever ridden. And honestly, it doesn't fit poorly. It is big. It is stretched out. If I didn't know how big the reach was, I wouldn't really think it's huge. I'd know that it was big, but I would not guess 519mm. So that long reach makes the wheelbase also pretty long. 1253mm for the extra large. You know, isn't huge across the entire spectrum of bikes, but across cross-country bikes, that is very big. If you've ever ridden a DW Link Ibis bike, you would know they are something else. That thing scared me so bad. Oh, I thought I was dead. I thought I was about to get gored by an elk. That suspension platform is something else. It's pretty spectacular. The way they accelerate, how lively they feel, how responsive they feel to your pedaling efforts, it's just top notch. You take that same suspension platform, put it in a short 100mm travel package that's geared towards XC, and this thing is a freaking rocket ship. This thing is stupid efficient. It goes so freaking fast. But the really cool thing is, you know, it doesn't feel like a hardtail. It doesn't feel like you're on a zero suspension bike, you know? It smooths out the bumps pretty well. Like, this is crazy. I am blown away by the suspension design on this bike so far. The dirt is exceptionally grippy today. We had some rain last night, so there is a ton of traction, but oh, there we go, slid out a little bit right there. But I was standing up, weight completely over the front of the bike, and I had plenty of traction there. I slid out once right at the very end. So the suspension design gives you a lot of traction on this. Gives you just stupid amounts of efficiency, and it still does a decent job of smoothing out the bumps. I am blown away. Who knew XC bikes could be so much fun? So I normally don't weigh bikes. I don't really care, but for a cross-country bike, I do feel that that's important. If you're racing on it, being light, being able to go up those hills quickly is huge. So I weighed this one. It's an extra large with pedals, with a bottle cage, with little tools and bits and bobs, 24.8 pounds. That does include a dropper post. That does include the Fox 34, where a lot of other bikes would probably have a 32 or the Sid. So this is the kind of bike that, as you're climbing, you know, if you start to slow down, the bike's like, hey, come on, let's go a little faster. You're never not putting pressure through those pedals. It just wants to go faster and faster on the climbs. And it just rewards you so much for it. You know, you put power down, the bike moves forward. Since some of this bumpier stuff, it's not as smooth as the Ripley. Definitely not as smooth as the Ripmo. But man, it's smoother than some of the other XC bikes I've ridden. Even the trail versions of those, they get 120 millimeters of rear travel. Okay, the overall climbing grade on this bike is A+. It's probably the best climbing bike I have ever ridden in my entire life. It is one of the most efficient, might not be the most efficient, but it's, you know, top 3. And efficiency isn't everything. You know, you've got body position, you've got geometry, you've got traction, you've got suspension. And I think the combination of all of those things with the efficiency this bike gives you makes it one of the best, if not the best, climbing bike I've ever ridden. So A+, hats off, Ibis. Well done. Get to go downhill. And I am not used to riding cross-country bikes, and I skipped on the knee pads today in the spirit of XC, so we'll see how this goes. Plus, this is a really nice bike and it's not mine, so I'd love to not wreck it. Starting out the downhill here, I will let you know a little secret. The 2 things I look for when riding and trying to judge a bike are suspension and geometry. Suspension design, to be specific. Not so much how much there is, but how well it's used. So this bike runs on DW Link, which I've already mentioned on the climbs is incredible. On the downhill, does a really good job of being good in those small bumps. It's lively, so it's a little higher in the travel. So really good for a lively, playful, responsive bike. And I'm getting that with this. It feels kind of like the other Ibis bikes. That's very quick, responsive. This isn't super playful, but it's not really meant to be. It's a race bike. And then we've got the geometry side of things, which, you know, XC bikes are usually steeper, not as stable. Honestly, this one's pretty trail bikey in that reach and wheelbase number. So it feels pretty stable in some of this stuff. I'm not going to take my inside monster truck line there though. Not that stable. So let's start breaking this down. We'll start with the suspension design. So DW Link is really good on these small little bumps. It sits a little higher in its travel, doesn't sag in quite as much. So on the medium stuff and the big stuff, it doesn't feel quite as plush. But on these little embedded rocks and little chattery sections, it feels smooth. I wouldn't call it plush by any means, but it does feel pretty smooth, and it doesn't feel like the bike's getting robbed of its momentum, which is huge when you're making an XC bike, so you want to go fast. Kind of motors through it all. So now let's talk a little bit more about the geometry. We've got a pretty steep head tube by today's standards, but we've got a really, oh yeah, woohoo! We've got a really long reach, which gives you that stability. Long wheelbase gives you stability. So because of that long reach and wheelbase, I'm not really having to tiptoe around on this trail. There are a couple lines over some big rocks that I haven't hit that I normally would on my bike, but I'm not really tiptoeing. I'm not super concerned about zigging in and out of rocks. I'm going over most of them. I'm sure on really big, nasty stuff, this would not be your bike. You're not buying a cross-country race bike to do that anyway. If you want to be able to take a bike anywhere with confidence, buy the right bike. Buy a trail bike or an all-mountain bike. So that long wheelbase, there's kind of something about it. I ride a bike with a really long wheelbase and long reach, And I think there is this kind of stability in a corner. Not so much like quick, lively agility in a corner, but you have this stability that lets you hit corners with a bit more speed and confidence. So you're not getting squirrely and bounced around in corners. So this bike is cornering very well. It's got that steep head tube angle that makes the front end responsive, but then it's got kind of that longer wheelbase to keep you stable. Seems like a really good way to make a bike corner well. Oh yeah, we got it. This thing gets in the air well. That dropper post is right up your butt because it's a short cross-country lightweight dropper post, but it does well enough. I wouldn't call the bike poppy, but because it's light and nimble, it does get airborne fairly well. So I wasn't going to add this section of trail. It's a black diamond, it's a little rougher, a little rockier, but why not? Bike seems like it's up to the task. So I feel like this trail is going to start to test those upper limits of the capability on this bike, especially for me, you know. I'm not the best rider on the planet, so I sometimes rely on a little bit of bike magic to get me through some stuff. And so far, we're doing okay. I'm not going as fast as I'd normally go, but I normally have a lot more travel than this. So I am incredibly impressed at what 100 millimeters of rear travel can do on this thing. It's all firm, it's never plush, but that soft, smooth, off the top feeling combined with the long, stable wheelbase and reach on this bike make it pretty dang capable. There's been plenty of traction, plenty of control, plenty of support. That got a little loose in there. I got offline. Like I was saying, plenty of traction control, support. I'm not blowing through the travel here. It's not a trail bike, not even trying to be one. It's a cross-country bike, but it is a very good one at that.
All right, let's dig into the analysis, where this bike is good, who it's for, and, well, if you should buy one or not. Whew, almost got it. So a couple of things I really liked about the bike. The suspension design was phenomenal. It had excellent small bump performance, gave you enough traction, and was as efficient as bikes get. That was incredible. I also really liked the geometry, the longer wheelbase, the longer reach, made me feel more at home, and I didn't feel squirrely and scared and skittish the entire time. So where is this bike happiest? I'm gonna go back to the trail difficulty rating system that I used in the last series that seemed to go over pretty well. And this bike is happiest on probably greens and blues. That doesn't mean you can't ride harder on it, but the bike feels most at home on greens and blues. It feels super at home on climbs. Technical, steep, straight, fire roads, you name it. If it's going uphill, this bike is stoked to be there. It's also really good on rolling, traversing terrain where you've got climbs mixed in with your downhills. You'll cover tons of ground very quickly, and the bike will just feel right at home in that style of terrain. All right, so who is this bike for? First of all, it's a cross-country race bike. So if you race cross-country, there you go. Great option for you. Also, I don't want you to mistake this as a trail bike. It is not a trail bike. It's not even trying to be a trail bike. There is a pretty high shred factor for a cross-country bike there, but I think it's because of the long reach and the wheelbase. But again, not designed to be a trail bike, so don't. The other people I think who are really going to like this bike are for taller, bigger riders like me. Like I said earlier, I usually find cross-country bikes, even in extra large, a little too small, and they get a little squirrely. So I do think this one will suit that bigger rider who likes a bigger, roomier bike. All right, just to wrap this up with a one-line bike review, the Ibis Exie making lockout levers useless since 2021. So thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time.